My dear brothers and sisters, and my young friends, greetings. I am Radha Sukhani. I'm a doctor by profession. I had started my discussion on immunity and health. This is part 2 of immunity and health. I would recommend that you see part 1 before you come to part 2. All the materials, education materials related to this subject are posted on website www.foodlifestylebalance.com. As I told you last time in part 1, that immunity is that powerful shield of our body which protects us from germs and serious viruses like COVID-19. We also discussed that in order to have good immunity, we have to have holistic health. And based on that, we started our discussion on holistic health to build immunity. In the talk, part 1, we talked about holistic health and holistic food, 2 subjects. Today, we are going to talk about the remaining subjects, which is balanced lifestyle, rejuvenating sleep, activity and exercise, stress management, healthy intestinal bacteria, and herbal supplements. Now, what is balanced lifestyle? Balanced lifestyle is a lifestyle which is lived in harmony with 24-hour day and night cycle of the sun. This 24-hour day and night cycle of the sun is called circadian rhythm. Circa means round, dian means day, rhythm means harmony. The entire universe, all its living beings, including plants, live in the circadian rhythm of the sun energy. They're active during the daytime and in rest, repair, and rejuvenate mode in the nighttime. There are, of course, few animals which are nocturnal like mouse and owl, which are active in the night. When humans fall off or any living being falls off the circadian rhythm, they fall victim to disease and disability. Now, how does circadian rhythm controls our entire body? How does it balance our lifestyle? It does it via the brain clock. Yes, sir, we have a brain clock in our brain. That is a science. It's a science study that we have special 20 to 30,000 cells in our brain behind our forehead, which we say sometimes in our Indian spiritual philosophy, the seat of the soul, the seat of our Atma is behind the forehead. The seat of our brain clock, which controls our body function, is also behind our forehead. When the sunlight or bright daylight enters through the eyes, it activates our brain clock. This brain clock controls every organ, every cell of our body. In the daytime, all these organs are active. In the nighttime, they are in rest, repair, and rejuvenate mode. For example, heart is functioning at 20% less capacity in the night. Heart rate is 20% lower, blood pressure is 20% lower. Our liver, our pancreas, its insulin are making energy during the daytime, but in the nighttime, all the glucose which comes from our food is converted into fat. Any food you eat after 8 o'clock gets converted to fat. So late eaters will always be overweight. Too much fat because you're not giving body its chance to do its job properly. The intestinal cavity is active during the day, but after 10 o'clock, the intestines really slow down. So when you eat late meals, the food just sits there. It's get putrefied. So you have digestion problems, you have bloating, you have gas, you have acid reflux. And as you know well, that all these diseases are an epidemic nowadays because people are eating late. In addition to our organs, our brain clock also controls our survival behaviors. And the 3 survival behaviors are sleep and wake cycle, fasting and feeding cycle, rest and activity cycle. And we'll talk about it a little bit more. Now, 3 medical physiologists, their names are Dr. Jeffrey Hall, Michael Rosbash, and Michael Young, who got a Nobel Prize for discovering circadian rhythm, brain clock, and its relationship to our health. As I said, there are 3 survival behaviors controlled by our brain clock. These three survival behaviors are sleep-wake cycle, fasting-feeding cycle, and resting activity cycle. Sleep-wake cycle is the key. It's the core survival behavior which controls the other two. If we sleep late in the night or don't get enough sleep, we have too much hunger because there's high level of the appetite hormone called ghrelin. If we don't sleep well, we will not be very active. We will have no vitality for the next day. So if we want to protect our health, we really have to focus on our sleep-wake cycle. Keep it normal. So I will start with sleep-wake cycle because it is a key cycle. Now, before I start the sleep-wake cycle, I want to tell you what is deep sleep. Deep sleep is the time during which body secretes very special hormone called growth hormone. This growth hormone does the function of rest, repair, and rejuvenate. It rejuvenates the body, the cells, and takes care of all the broken parts in the night. The deep sleep time is 12 to 3 o'clock in an adult. In children, deep sleep time is much longer than 3 hours, simply because children are growing and they need a lot of growth hormone. That's why you must have seen that the children have very deep sleep. You can play drums and they won't wake up because they need their growth hormone. We always have this wrong notion in our head that our sleep onset time is related to the time at which we go into the bed for sleeping. That's not true. Our sleep onset time is related to the time when we wake up in the morning. If we wake up between 5 and 7 in the morning, we'll naturally get our sleep at 10 or 11 o'clock in the night. But if we wake up at 9 or 11 in the morning, we won't be able to get to sleep until midnight. And that won't give us deep sleep. Because in order for us to get a deep sleep between 12 and 3, we have to go to bed 2 hours before, 1 or 2 hours before. So by not following the nature, we can really ruin our health. Now, sleep is a necessity of life because it is the time during which body rests, it repairs and rejuvenates itself. You want to get older faster? Just don't pay attention to your sleep. If you don't get good sleep, you get older very fast. Sleep also strengthens our immunity. And how? When you get no sleep for a few days or get poor sleep for a few days, what do you get next? Cold, cough, upper respiratory infections. So lack of sleep gives us poor immunity. 1/3 of our life hours are spent in sleep, and it's for a good reason, because it is the time during which our body completely rejuvenates itself. Sleep is the ultimate performance enhancer. You want to be a star athlete, you have to have good sleep. You want to be a star student, you have to be having a good sleep. You want to be star anything, you have to get deep sleep. That is the difference between an average and super average. Super average is relaxed, deep sleep. So, despite knowing all that, what is happening to modern city dwellers? Sleep deprivation. They have this wrong notion in the body. If you snooze, you lose. No, I said. If you sleep well, you win well. Now, sleep deprivation is a silent killer. It kills you little bit at a time by disease and disability. Number one problem you get with lack of sleep is obesity. I have a two-liner in Hindi which I will say here. गहरी निद्रा का है स्वास्थ्य से गहरा संबंध अगर निद्रा है कम तो बढ़ जाएगा 10-15 किलो वजन. The second problem you get from sleep deprivation is metabolic syndrome. Our whole body's metabolism is upside down. 20% of the world population is a shift worker. Shift means they work in the night and they sleep during the day. They are the ones who are victims of metabolic syndrome, along with the city dwellers who are not getting enough sleep. So what happens in metabolic syndrome? Number one thing which happens is there's abdominal obesity. So your waistline increases in size, and along with it comes high blood glucose, high blood pressure, high bad lipid profile or bad cholesterol, and less amount of healthy cholesterol. In other words, you're all ready for type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart attacks, and cancer. So you can imagine that sleep is so well connected with our health. Now, I always say if you lose sleep, you not only lose your health, but you also lose your mental peace. So we have stress as an epidemic. Part of the reason is we are not getting enough sleep, we are not getting enough deep sleep. So I have listed everything around here on problems we can get with losing sleep. Number one, of course, we already talked about obesity. Number two, digestive problems, constipation, upset stomach, reflux. All these are related to our sleep disturbances in addition to the way our eating pattern is. Headache and migraine have become an epidemic. Part of the reason is not enough sleep. When we don't have enough sleep, we get a lot of colds. If we don't have enough sleep, we cannot remember anything. Our memory is poor. We don't have focus and concentration. If we don't get enough sleep, our mood is bad, irritable. We get up in the morning and we are in a fighting mode. Lack of sleep also ruins the reproductive capability. And you see, infertility is almost an epidemic in big cities. There's no actual poor vision, but what you see, you cannot register in the head. So I'll say overall, it is a mental poor vision. Now, sleep and mood are totally interconnected. They are chemically interconnected because those hormones are related to each other. When the sunlight or bright morning light enters the eyes and it reaches the brain, it stimulates the production of a hormone called serotonin. Serotonin is a happy hormone. And when people get depression, they are given drugs to improve the level of the serotonin. Serotonin is the hormone which goes on to make melatonin, which is our deep sleep hormone. So, depression and sleep are interrelated. If you have depression, you don't get good sleep. If you don't have good sleep, you have depression. So, it is very important to practice good sleep hygiene. And there are very few things in it which are important. Number one, make your sleep a routine. By routine, I don't mean what time you go to bed. By routine, I mean what time you wake up. Because I said your time to wake up is what makes up time for onset of sleep in the night. So wake up at the same routine between 5 and 7 o'clock. Even if you went to a party and you came back at 2 in the morning, naturally your sleep will be over by 6 or 7 o'clock. And if you continue to linger in the bed, you're ruining sleep for your next day. So if you want to have good sleep the next day, get right up when your eyes open up. Number two, exercise or activity. During exercise and activity, a chemical is produced in the body. It is called adenosine. When the level of the adenosine goes up during the day, it brings up sleep. So we can say adenosine is the key to the door of the sleep. If we don't have activity and exercise, we are hanging out, not moving around, we won't have enough adenosine to initiate our sleep. So initiation of the sleep, the key to initiation of the sleep is adenosine. So at the night time before going to bed, ideal thing is to shut off TV an hour before so that all that commotion which came to your head from the TV just settles down. The best work to do before sleep is either read book or listen to a pleasant music and soft music. If you are used to taking naps during the day, cut that down to less than 30 minutes, preferably 20 minutes. Because if you take a daytime nap, you're basically bringing down your adenosine. And adenosine is the key to initiation of the sleep. Caffeine always interferes with the onset of sleep. So if you want to drink caffeine, keep it before 5 o'clock. Finally, the blue light. And there's plenty of blue light for us from the cell phones, from the computer screens, from our iPads, and so forth. Blue light is a problem in the sense that blue light interferes with our deep sleep hormone called melatonin. It prevents the release of melatonin in the head. So if you are exposed to blue light, you will not be able to get deep sleep. Nowadays, we have screen filters on our cell phones, on our computers, or what we call as orange filters, which block the blue light. If you have to work late in the night, before your bedtime, it is better to have those orange filters or screens on your computers and on your cell phones. Keep your thought process more calm before you go to bed. So no arguments, no social media before bedtime. Settle all your scores 1 to 2 hours before you go to sleep. Now our brain clock also controls our fasting feeding cycle. Our body wasn't designed to eat 16 to 18 hours a day as we are doing nowadays. We start our eating 7 o'clock and we go on until 10, 11, 12 o'clock midnight. Body's not designed. It doesn't know what to do with it. So the ideal feeding time is 12 hours and ideal rest time for our digestive tract is 12 hours. Interestingly, ideal feeding time is really 10 hours. Imagine a child is a perfect specimen of what is nature. If you force a child to eat at 7, 8 o'clock, they will not have appetite. They'll refuse to eat. So the appetite first shows up at around 9 o'clock. Until then, body is eliminating and is not ready to accept new food. So the ideal time to eat is really 8 to 8 or 10 hours. Now, when it comes to food, three things are important. What to eat, when to eat, how often to eat. What to eat, when to eat, how often to eat. We already talked about what to eat, primarily plant-based foods, which are natural, not factory-made. How often to eat and when to eat, I'm going to explain it by timeline. I call it timeline of 1970. Why did I choose this timeline? Simply because before 1970, there was very low incidence of obesity and diabetes. Obesity was less than 1% in the world population. Diabetes was less than 5%. After 1970, we have epidemic of obesity and diabetes. So what changed? Not only our food, but how often we are eating and what time are we eating. Before 1970, majority of the world population ate 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And what are we doing now after 1970? We are eating multiple meals a day, 5, 6, 7, 8. Our dietitians have a 2-hour plan for us. Our body is not designed for it. Our digestive tract is not designed for that. Before 1970, most of the world population ate during daylight hours because after 8 o'clock, our body doesn't know how to make energy. It puts everything in the fat bank, makes fat out of glucose. Our feeding hours were 12 hours. And what are we doing now? We are eating 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whenever. So not only we get digestive problems because our body doesn't digest the food, at the same time, all whatever we eat, whatever glucose is absorbed, it is converted into fat. Our feeding, as I told you, goes on for 16, 18 hours a day. Our body is not designed for that. So it's no surprise that we have epidemics of obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and so forth. Because what has changed is what we are eating, how many times we are eating, what time we are eating. Now, what are the health benefits of daylight hour eating? I emphasize that enough. Simply because our digestion and our metabolism is at its best during the daylight hours. Our digestive tract is very mobile. As I told you, after 10 o'clock, it really slows down. Our digestive enzymes are at peak during the daylight hours. Our insulin hormone is making energy of whatever glucose is coming to it, provided you are not eating too much glucose also, and less of fat storage during the day. After 8 o'clock, whatever you eat, whatever glucose comes in the body, it is converted to fat. So you may eat the most healthy food. After 8 o'clock, it will still go into the fat bank. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about time-restricted eating. What is time-restricted eating? It is a methodology for reducing weight. As you know, for the past 50 years, the methodology used for reducing weight, obesity, has been low-calorie diet plans and intense exercise plans. Almost 50 to 60 billion dollars are spent each year on low-calorie diet plans and intense exercise plans in the gyms. And what has happened? Obesity epidemic has only gone double and triple. It means low-calorie diet plans have failed, intense exercise plans have failed. Time-restricted eating is a concept which has become popular in the last 5 years because it is based on the science of circadian physiology. According to time-restricted eating principle, if you eat within 8-hour window of the day during daylight and leave the 16 hours fasting, your body will use all the reserve fat it has. In that 8-hour window, you can eat as much as you want, provided the food is holistic and not rich in salt, fat, and sugar. So you're eating holistic, healthy food in those 8 hours, and you can eat as much as you want. And you will lose weight reliably. In the very first month, 3 to 5 kilo, then 2 kilo each month. By the end of a year, you have lost 15 kilos, and you may lose 25 to 30 kilos in a matter of 2 years. Slow and steady wins the race. It becomes your lifelong weight loss, not roller coaster like you get with low-calorie diet plans. Now, discussion on health is not complete without talking of sun energy. Sun energy gives us the holistic food. Sun energy gives us the balanced lifestyle. And I am so inspired by sun energy that I wrote this two-liner. There are all kinds of light for the sight, but for health, there is only one light, and that is the sunlight. Sunlight gives us highly nutritious plant-based food, which is very rich in disease-fighting antioxidants. Sun energy also gives us balanced lifestyle in 24-hour day and night circadian rhythms. We have always thought that sunlight is good for vitamin D and building stronger bones. That's not correct. Sunlight does many more things for us. It improves our vigor and vitality. It fights depression. In the geographic areas of the world where sunlight doesn't come for weeks together, very high incidence of depression, high incidence of suicides. So if you don't see the sunlight, you have more depression. Remember what I told you about serotonin. Serotonin is our happy hormone, which comes when we see the bright daylight or sunlight. So if there is darkness, there is depression. Sunlight also improves our memory. It reduces hunger. You stay indoors, don't see outdoors, you will eat a lot. It also reduces risk of cancer and type 2 diabetes. It fights cardiovascular disease. And of course, we all know that sunlight and vitamin D builds us stronger bones. Now, International Osteoporotic Association told us that 80% of city dwellers in India are deficient in vitamin D. And I think all the doctors will do a vitamin D test as soon as you hit their office, simply because they know your vitamin D is going to be very low if you are not used to seeing the sun on a regular basis. And you know that in India, there is no deficiency of sunlight. It is there everywhere. It's there for us to enjoy, but we are not doing it. So normal levels of vitamin D are 20 to 40 nanograms per milliliter, we call it. And the level less than 12, it means you're deficient. Food, I must tell you, is a very poor source of vitamin D. And the only two food sources which are very rich in vitamin D are cod liver oil, which is sold as capsules, and our ghee cow desi A1 ghee. So why ghee cow has higher vitamin D in its milk and its ghee is simply based on our traditional theory that ghee cow has a hump, and the hump lies what we call as a big blood vessel. It's called in Hindi Surya Prakash Nadi, and it concentrates the sun energy. And that is the why ghee cow ghee and milk is considered to have high amount of vitamin D. Our normal vitamin D requirement is not very high. It's 400 to 600 international units. But when we are deficient, our doctors give us very high dose, 4 to 10,000 units per day or 60,000 units per week. This is a very high dose, and it cannot be taken every day for the rest of your life. If you do, you will get overdosage of vitamin D. Yes, that will make you nauseated, that will upset your stomach, it will cause calcium deposits on all those areas of the body where we don't want it. So it is important that if the doctor has prescribed you very high dose of vitamin D, you don't carry on forever. You check your vitamin D levels and go back to maintenance dose of 400 to 600. If you look at good multivitamin tablets, they will have only 600 units of vitamin D in them. So you go back to a multivitamin tablet, which will give you other vitamins along with vitamin D. Whenever possible, do not take injectable vitamin D. If you do, you have to be very careful and get your vitamin D levels, otherwise you'll get the overdosage. The best way, the ideal way to get vitamin D is through the sunlight, because vitamin D through sunlight will never cause overdosage ever. It is stored nicely in our liver, and whatever amount is required, it is taken from the liver to the kidneys, where the active form of vitamin D is created and it is used by the body. So body has a very good system. Now, what is the safe sunbathing time when you can get vitamin D from the sunlight? You have to know this. It's a very simple formula. 2 hours after the sunrise and 2 hours before the sunset. If you stand in the sun at this time, your shadow will be longer than you. I have shown it here by a tree. This is the safe zone. Again, I will say 2 hours after the sunrise and 2 hours before the sunset. Then the sun starts going up the horizon, the shadow becomes the same size, and then in the middle of the day, your shadow is smaller than your height, and that is not a safe time to sunbathe. At this time, the sunlight has a lot of what we call as UVA, which causes aging of the skin, which can cause darkening of the skin. So nobody should be sunbathing at the time when their shadow is shorter than them or shadow is same size as them. You have to sunbathe when your shadow is longer than your own height. Now, safe duration of sunbathing. That depends on the color of your skin. If your skin is fair colored, do not sunbathe for more than 10 or 15 minutes. If you are brown or wheatish complexion, as most of the Indians are, 30 to 60 minutes of sunbathing is a safe zone. If the skin is darker, longer, 60 to 90 minutes. When you are in the sun, make sure your skin doesn't get very hot. If the skin is getting very hot, stop. That is your stop sign. Now, the dangers of the sunlight has been blown out of proportion. Uh, the risk of skin cancer is only in white races who have no pigment melanin in their skin. It is very unusual for a South Asian or Asian or African to get skin cancer because they have a lot of melanin in their skin. The only thing we have to worry about is cataracts because our sun is very strong in Asia. And for that, the best thing to do is wear dark glasses during the during the day when the sunlight is very strong, or use any protective device so that the sunlight doesn't get into the sun. If you know that in good old days, our greatest tradition was to wear pagadi, the headgear. And if you see, the headgear used to be so big in places like Rajasthan, where the sun is very strong, that it totally worked as a visor, like we have in our sports caps. Do's and don'ts for sunbathing. You have to expose 40% of your skin at least, if you can't, at least hand, arms, and feet on the inside aspects where there's maximum absorption of UVB spectrum of the sunlight. So these are the areas which have to be exposed to the sun and the feet. No heavy clothing when you're sunbathing because UVB light of the sun cannot go through the clothing. No suntan lotions. You won't get dark if you sunbathe 2 hours after the sunrise and 2 hours before the sunset. And if you are really worried about your color, just take short periods of sunlight, 10 to 15 minutes. Now we'll come next to activity and exercise. Activity and exercise is so vital for health. It improves our lung capacity of our heart, and gives more oxygen to our body. The best time to exercise is morning on an empty stomach. Why morning on empty stomach? Especially if you're overweight, is simply because during this time, body uses up all the stored fat energy because no more glucose is coming from our digestive tract on an empty stomach. In the morning time, you have the benefit of exposure to sunrise or bright daylight, which is good for our balanced lifestyle. It gives us melatonin, the deep sleep hormone. It also gives us benefit of many important hormones such as thyroid hormone, insulin hormone, and steroid hormones. So they are all stimulated when we see the morning sun. In addition to your exercise, you make sure that you continue your activity and stay active the entire day and do at least 8 to 10,000 steps every day. If you are over 65 years of age and you don't have that much physical capacity, 4 to 5,000 steps a day is all right. What is the ideal exercise routine? I think our forefathers taught us already, our ancestors taught it already. We in cities are totally ignoring it. So start your day with pranayama yoga, which boosts your heart health, boosts your lung health, and at the same time improves your muscle flexibility. Our Prime Minister Modi declared 21st June as International Yoga Day, and you will be amazed that that's the day the whole world is really paying attention to yoga. Morning walk is our next exercise. Try to do at least 30 to 60 minutes of morning walk. And it is great if you can do fast and slow motion. By fast and slow motion, I mean walk at your pace for 5 minutes and then speed up for 2 minutes. This will give you an aerobic touch to your walk. Stair climbing is an aerobic exercise. If you live in a high rise, at least do not use elevator for first 2 to 3 stairwells and then go and take the elevator. Or if you have any stairs nearby, do at least 5 to 6 sets of stairs every day. Bike riding cannot be done in cities as much because our big cities do not have any safe footpaths or bike paths. But I think as citizens and responsible citizens, it is our duty to demand of our municipalities to create us footpaths and bicycle paths so our children can enjoy bike riding and walking. Dancing is a great aerobic exercise. If you enjoy dancing, please do it. Even Lord Krishna gave us Ras Leela. So even our gods were in favor of dancing. So dance like nobody is watching you. Stay active the entire day, as I told you, 7 to 10,000 steps per day. Now I come to the sensitive subject of managing stress. As I said, if your mind is stressed, you get lot more infections. Your immunity is very weak. Why there is so much stress in the world? Because we have surrounded ourselves with too many errands, too many challenges. Our mind is working. Our thought process is all jumbled up. The stress is related to the number of thoughts in our heads. More the thoughts, more the stress. And when the same thought keeps on repeating itself in our head, we call it rumination. And rumination, perfect word in Hindi is chintan, dimag ko chintan. And chintan means chinta. And we have known our common expression, chinta chita saman hai. It means ruminations and severe mental stress will give you death. If not death, you are like a dead man or woman walking. It takes the life out of you. So what is the biggest stress? The cause of biggest stress is fear of loss. And there are 4 losses which you are most worried about. Loss of money, loss of work job, status, power, position, title, and relationship. If we have conflict in a relationship, that's a great stress. Or any one of these are the causes of great stress in human life. Now, how do we manage stress? If you look, there'll be hundreds, thousands of books written on stress. It is not my place to touch all those subjects. So I will go through very simple exercise, which can help a little or help a lot based on your effort. So as I said, stress occurs when the thought process is too fast in our mind. Normally, a human thinks 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. It means almost 2,000 to 2,500 thoughts per hour. That's a lot of thoughts. Could we handle it? The problem occurs when our thoughts go into millions or the same thought keeps on going round and round, which we call as rumination or chinta. If you really look into all those books on managing stress, a theme will emerge. And that theme is the best way to handle stress is to change the self. And what is self? Being able to look inwards, looking back into our souls. Who am I? What do I stand for? What is my truth? So if you see, it is in a way a spiritual exercise. And we can fix our stress a lot by that spiritual exercise we call is Adhyatma Gyan, Adhyatmik Shakti. So there are very few exercises which can really slow down your thought process. Majority of our thought occurs because of our ego. It is the ego trip that we get into all those fears. We are always afraid of losing our status. So we have to learn how to handle or manage our ego. So I put down only 4 simple exercises. Number 1, attitude of gratitude. Because gratitude gives us humility, and humility dissolves the ego. Second is be an optimist, which we call in Hindi, Ashavadi bano, Nirashavadi na bano. We all know that life without hope, optimism means keeping hope, and life without hope is a dead end. So hope sometimes comes with faith. And in Christianity also, there comes a prayer called serenity prayer. Serenity prayer says, God, give me serenity to tolerate the things I cannot change. Give me courage to change the things I can change. And give me the wisdom to differentiate between the two. Our spiritual literature is filled with such kind of knowledge. So when you cannot see any hope, leave it to your providence. Leave it to the God. Acceptance versus resistance. The biggest cause of stress in modern times is resistance. We want to impose our thinking on others, our point of view on others. And this resistance creates a lot of stress. If we learn how to accept, I think our thought process will cool off quite a bit. And finally, solitude. And solitude and the words are so interconnected. Our solitude is disturbed on hearing wrong words or uttering wrong words. So if the words become slow, if the words become soft, the words become kind, and if we speak only when it is necessary, oh my God, a lot of our mental stress will be under control. Now I come to the subject of healthy intestinal bacteria. Healthy intestinal bacteria in medical science is called microbiome. Believe it or not, there's 1.5 kilogram of microbiome in our digestive tract. It comprises of both good bacteria as well as the bad bacteria. If our digestive system is healthy, a lot more good bacteria. 60% of our immunity or immune cells lie in our small intestine. If we have good bacteria, our immune system will be strong. If we have bad bacteria, immune system will be weak. You have seen every disease begins in guts. That has been told to us for hundreds and thousands of years. Charak in Ayurveda said 4,000 years ago, disease begin in guts. Hippocrates, father of modern allopathic medicine, 2,500 years ago, Disease begins in guts. Louis Cuny, the father of naturopathy in early 19th century, said the same thing. Disease begins in guts. And Metchnikoff, Nobel laureate who got Nobel Prize in immunity in early 20th century, said disease begins in guts. So we have many smart people telling us disease begins in guts. We have to maintain our healthy bacteria to maintain our digestive health. And that little idea was given to us by Metchnikoff, Elie Metchnikoff, in early 20th century. He said that most of our diseases arise in colon, but if we drink products made from eat products made from fermented milk, our microbiome, he coined the term microbiome, our microbiome will be healthy and it will save us from disease. In addition, he said that vegetarian food is good for digestive health because it sustains our microbiome. The fiber in the vegetarian food is the food for our microbiome, our good bacteria in our digestive tract. Now, good bacteria or microbiome do many things for us. They strengthen our immunity, as I said. 60% of our immune system is in our guts. They kill the bad bacteria which cause disease. They help with our digestion. And they synthesize vitamin B. If you are lacking vitamin B12, you do things, and I'm about to tell you what probiotic and prebiotic foods you eat to bring up your vitamin B, including vitamin B12. So these are the pro and prebiotic foods. As you know, the pro and prebiotic have become the craze of modern times in the cities because they sustain our microbiome, our good bacteria. So what are the foods which are good for our microbiome? Number one, high fiber grains, just like millets or whole grain wheat, not refined grains, refined wheat flour or refined rice. Also, vegetables, our lentils and legumes, rich sources of fiber, which sustain our microbiome. Fermented foods, homemade curd, not that boxed dahi or boxed yogurts, which I showed you, which are heated to such high temperatures that all the healthy bacteria in it die. Also, the pickled foods, especially the pickles made from mustard seeds. Mustard, I found, was the only spice which is used internationally in the French cuisine, special cuisine, in the European cuisine, and everywhere. Mustard is used in very good amounts. So mustard pickles are very good prebiotic food for us. Now, immunity also can be boosted by supplements to some extent. Not, it won't build us a strong immunity. For that, we need holistic health. But yes, it will boost our immunity. That is why we have so much emphasis on herbs and spices in our diet. The world was exploring us for spices, not for wealth. Only when they came for spices, they realized that we have a lot of wealth in India. So, what are the substances in our foods which boost our immunity? Number one, vitamins. And the three vitamins which do that job is vitamin A, especially beta carotene, which is pro-vitamin A, and it's present in all the yellow foods or yellow fruits and vegetables. And then vitamin C, which is present in the citrus fruits. Vitamin E is present in the nuts, in cold compressed oils, good amount of vitamin E, whole grains, and green vegetables. So these three vitamins boost our immune system. In addition, minerals like zinc, selenium, and copper, which are present in the foods, which also contain vitamin E. So these are also important for our immunity. Finally, our herbs and supplements from which we create our kadhas, from which we create our herb concoctions, are very good for our immunity. And some of the herbs which have been actually recognized by the international nutrition societies are antioxidants like cloves, anti-inflammatory foods like ginger, turmeric. Turmeric, as you know, has become worldwide art. People are in America are eating or Europe are eating turmeric capsules. But those capsules I would recommend not, because those capsules are such old. brown colored turmeric, which has got no nutritional value or anti-inflammatory value, it claims. So if you want to eat turmeric, the best turmeric to eat is fresh turmeric. The other supplements which give you immunity are almonds, walnuts, triphala, underneath I have written Arjun ki chal, saffron, very good antioxidant, amla, richest source of vitamin C. So all these herbs and spices, which are very much a part of our cuisine, are very good for our immunity. Finally, I come to the last subject, and the more important subject is how can we prevent future pandemics of serious viruses like corona. For that, we have to learn where the corona came from. Corona came from bats. Bats are the natural reservoir of coronaviruses. From bats, coronaviruses goes to the animals, the wild animals, or even camel, wild cats. So COVID, SARS-CoV-1 virus, which came in 2002, came from civet cats. Current virus, which is COVID-19, came to us from wild animal like pangolin, which is widely eaten and sold in China. Civet cats also sold in Chinese wet markets. Um, Camels were responsible for coronavirus called MERS-CoV camel, and this virus caused what we call as MERS disease, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. So all the coronaviruses basically came from the bats, and from there they jumped onto the wild animals. And when we handle the wild animals or we eat the wild animals, that virus comes to the human. As you know, that COVID-19 started in wet market of Wuhan city in China. I also want to bring attention to one fact which we have forgotten, that 25 years ago, we had epidemic of HIV, worldwide epidemic, and the virus for HIV came to us from primates or from monkeys. So animals are always giving us the viruses. They give us the viruses only when we interfere with their habitat. We take away their habitat or we eat them and destroy them. Then the virus, which has been living way longer than humans have been living, bacteria which are living way longer than humans, they jump from the animals because their host is lost and they come to the human. So what is the best way to prevent a pandemic? The best way to prevent an pandemic and epidemics of viral diseases and bacterial diseases to live in harmony with the nature. And what is the best way to live in harmony with the nature? Is eat plant-based foods. Imagine, as I said, 40% of the grain we grow, we give it to the animals who give us meat and milk. We will save that 40% of the grains. We don't have a need to cut down our forests if we go to primarily plant-based natural diet. You also remember that 15,000 liters of water are gone into making 1 kilo of beef. So why consume a product which destroys the natural resources? So let's preserve the nature, at the same time preserve our health. That is my parting advice. And I thank you very much for listening.